This is one of the finest Western paintings ever painted. Knowledgeable people say it is the greatest Western. It's called Racing at Fort Laramie by Alfred Jacob Miller. And it tells it they're not fighting out there, they're rendezvousing and trading with the Indians. You know, wherever the dragoons, parenthesis, cavalry went, the flag was soon to follow. Wherever the forts were built, like Fort Laramie out here, the flag was soon to follow. Wherever the rail lines were built, the flag was soon to follow. This was the original fort at Fort Laramie. It's burnt down, but restorers want to come to restore the fort. They even use this painting to find out what it really looked like. It's a wonderful painting, and it's historical, and it's a fine introduction to the Westward movement. Indians Pursued by Dragoons by Carl Weimer. And you know who sent those dragoons out there? It was Thomas Jefferson. And wherever they went, the flag was soon to follow. This is one of the best Westerns ever painted. I'm talking about the experts all say so. It was done in Dusseldorf. He brought his drawings and his studies to Dusseldorf, and as Germans would do, they'd go back to Dusseldorf to learn how to paint, and he painted that there. Bierstadt was there with him, by the way. And you know what he told Bierstadt? He said, "Go west, young man." He said that there's more money in it if you go out and paint in the west. So these Hudson River School painters went out west. Bierstadt and Whitridge and the whole bunch of them went out there. This is Black Hawk, and he was the first oil painting that I ever bought. Black Hawk, he wouldn't take the Trail of Tears, and he went to scalping and burning barns and said, "This land is mine." Who do you think went up to get him? Abraham Lincoln. He led soldiers up there to take him prisoner. Who else was involved in the thing? Jefferson Davis. He was Secretary of the War. They were both on the same side. They went up and captured him. They paraded him all over Philadelphia as a celebrity, and he'd put his daughter, his check for his signature, and the kids would come up to him. They took him to Fort Monroe on the coast of Virginia and put him in prison. He stayed there for life. They gave him special privileges, and they let him ride his horse because he was a celebrity. You know how they treat celebrities in prison. And he rode that horse. He got a hold of a pint of whiskey and drank it and fell off that horse and drowned in a water puddle. I like the recorders. I'm not knocking Remington and Russell and Frank Tenney Johnson or Thomas Moran or any of those guys. They were good, but they were painting at the same time Hollywood was in existence. They kind of jazzed it up. That was fun. I love Remington, especially his figures, and I love all of those guys. But if you really want to know what happened, you want to collect the recorders and the Charlesburg Kings, and in other words, as they really were, not with the big flappy hat or the red bandana around their neck. That's why I got Remingtons and Russells, but that's why I concentrate on the others. This is Andrew Jackson, and an artist unknown, and one of the best paintings of him I've ever seen. It's on board, and its curvature, it's been warped a little. Now, Andrew Jackson, militarily and strategically, the two best battles where Horseshoe Bend here in Alabama, and the Pensacola campaign, which he had Pushmataha with him on the Pensacola campaign. And Pushmataha, Jackson said, was the general that had the greatest strategic sort of a mind. He was the greatest strategist he'd ever served with. And they went down there together and they won. They beat the Spanish down there. Jackson became territorial governor of Florida. In Alabama counties down there in West Alabama, Jackson set them up because as governor of the territory of Florida, he added that to Florida, and that's what's West Florida today. It's interesting. And after the war, when Pushmataha came to see the Great White Father, he died of yellow fever or something. But I think he really drank himself to death there in the tavern when they'd get him up and take the state of Missouri away from him for $10,000. This is a Gilbert Gall, the best one he ever did. You know, he painted the Southern boys leaving the plantation and going to war. Worked out of Memphis, and he went west and painted this. And I think it's the best one he ever did. They're exchanging prisoners, and they got this fierce-looking Indian here, and then they're exchanging him for one of our men that they've gotten. These guys are in the brig. They're in the guardhouse, and these hands sticking out. Here's your major from West Pointer, you know, and he's looking through his glasses, and they got the flag of truce out. They're exchanging prisoners, and I think it's very descriptive and very good. Unusual for Gilbert Gall, but he did go out west and he painted this painting, and I think it's the best one he ever did. This is called The Abduction, and it shows a wild Indian. He's carrying her out into the real world, taking her out of the Garden of Eden and bringing her in. You see that evil-looking thing up there, that branch? There were all kinds of stories about the Indian, the bare-chested Indian, you know, and the naked, primitive sort of a guy capturing the white girl and taking her out in the captivities. And in reality, a lot of them, when they would rescue them, would rather stay with the Indians. That's true. They liked Indian life. They liked the life they were living. And so I want to present both sides of the picture. The savages evidently treated some of them pretty good, but he's taking her off and showing her the real world. And this kind of shows you that. Dress, you know, just like our classic furniture and rooms in the back in the classical times. Almost looks like a Greek there that he's taking, and he's taking her off into the Indian village, and it just shows you all what people were thinking about in those times, and how in a way it was true, but in most ways it was kind of exaggerated and untrue, but there's always two sides to the picture. Well, we got Bodmer here. Bodmer and Catlin were painting at the same time. Bodmer came over with the Prince of Weed from Switzerland, actually. He came over with the Prince, and he went out there, and this is an interesting one because almost dreamlike. And this one over here shows John Jacob Astor and the way that his Eastern hunters hunted the buffalo. They ran them over a cliff, crippled them, shot them, took the skins and made buffalo robes. and which were very popular at the time for the sleigh or the wagon or whatever they were riding in. And it's interesting how they depict the Indian hunting the buffalo. They did it with bow and arrow and hunted in such a way that they didn't slaughter the buffalo. They ate and used what they got. And when the white man came, he slaughtered them and left the carcass there, for the buzzards, and took the skin and made buffalo robes out of it. It shows you the different ways they did. This was environmentally correct, and this was environmentally wrong, because we pretty near destroyed the buffalo completely. It would have been a lost species. Here we have Progress by Asher B. Durand. You could classify it right along with Catterskill Falls. I don't know which one's the most American. I don't even know which one will bring the most money, but this one will bring the most money of any Asher B. Durand painting. It's progress, the free enterprise system, capitalism. That's what founded the West. That's what made the West. Don't you see these Indians here? They're being pushed out. They're mere onlookers. They find time through space. You see, John Jacob Astor and his fur company, the Vanderbilts, the Rockefellers. My God, when I went to school, they called these guys robber barons. They were terrible guys. And I would always stand up and say, look, they founded America. These entrepreneurs are the ones that made the West. They made the West, and it's so exciting. Look, it's all water. My paintings, you'll find there's water in practically every one of them. I'm a romantic anyway. I love water, and I've got it. Look, this is a canal. Old Washington had Potomac fever. He thought all of the immigration to America would come through the Potomac. He also made it a private company. Old Jefferson, he wanted it to be a public company. Washington got so provoked with Maryland and Virginia, couldn't agree to anything, and he finally said, well, I'll just make a private company of it. And he made it the Potomac Canal Company, the James River Canal Company, the Dismal Swamp Company. Even Lawrence had the whole Midwest there, and he called it the Ohio Company. My God, these guys were entrepreneurs. They made America. They made America. And this picture made America. This is Catlin's interior of a Mandan Lodge. It used to be in all of our school books when I was a kid. It was number 503 of Catlin's tour of England. It was number 503. All the others were put into a steam room as collateral for a bad debt that Catlin had. He got broke over there, and they were destroyed. And this was about the only one that came out alive. It's a wonderful painting because it shows you the interior of a Mandan Lodge. Even the little boat, they'd float across the river in these little baskets, and it's so detailed. I'm not going into detail with you, but the guy might have three squaws if he were a big chief, and he'd put one squaw in that tent, another squaw in that tent, and another squaw in that tent, and tried to keep them all happy. I bet he had a pretty tough time of it. Got this wonderful painting by Alfred Jacob Miller in the Wind River Mountains, and they're toasting those buffalo ribs on that fire. I just love the way they made that fire. They teach you that when you were a Boy Scout, how to make a fire. It's just wonderful. This is old Gabe. We only had about 600-700 of these trappers, and they were the toughest guys in the world. And here's old Juan, the half-breed, and William Stewart Drummond is down here, and it was his expedition, and he fought against Napoleon in the Napoleonic Wars. And he was a royal Scotchman, and he came over here with his entourage, and they're over there looking out of their spyglass. You see, this was found in Merthyr Castle. That was William Stewart Drummond's place of his castle back in Scotland. It was found there. And at the time, they didn't give much credence to it. I noticed at the last auction, they had one from Merthyr Castle, and that brought twice the price. In my day, they didn't pay any attention to that. But over here, this is interesting, this little picture right here. See, these are the same guys that's in this picture. You got old Gabe, and you got Juan here, and see, this half-breed guy, he loved to fund the buffalo, and they would paint little instances in their trip, and it's interesting. The kids love it because here's old Gabe. He's coming to the rescue, and it looks like that buffalo's done the horse in. He's gored the horse, and he's after Juan, but they came out all right, and the kids just love it because you can pick the same characters in action at this instant of their life going west. It also shows you what the trappers did, and it's interesting, the whole thing. It shows you know, the American dream. These are the guys that founded the West. You know, the Lewis and Clark exhibit was a government thing and got all the credit, but I'll tell you who founded it was the entrepreneurs, John Jacob Astor's people. They're the ones that founded this country. They and all of those robber barons that built the railroads out there, you know, and the forts. You know, wherever the cavalry went, the flag was soon to follow. Wherever the forts were built, the flag was soon to follow. Wherever the trappers went, the flag was soon to follow. Wherever the rail lines went, everything was that way. You know, history's a funny thing. We got to keep the American dream alive.